Hey tea heads, this is Don from Mayleaf. In this video, what is High Mountain Oolong? Why is it revered so much? And what does it taste like? In this video, I'm here with Celine.
Hello.
And we are going to be drinking Pear Cloud, a very, very high mountain Taiwanese oolong. So high mountain oolongs, also known as Gaushan oolongs. Gaushan means high mountain. I'm specifically talking today about Taiwanese high mountain teas, although a lot of what I'm saying applies to Chinese as well. Some of the most revered teas in the world. We visited those beautiful misty mountain tops in Taiwan.
Oh yeah.
So
it
beautiful.
smells so good over there. It's just like the tea scent just fills the air.
And that freshness and that
fresh.
purity is what you're looking for in these kinds of teas. But we'll get onto that in a little bit. Let's go through a little bit of the history around high mountain tea. So high mountain tea is very famous in Taiwan. We haven't selected a Qingxin, which is this cultivar variety high mountain tea. So Qingxin is the standard sort of high mountain cultivar for these high elevation oolong teas. We haven't selected one, I think, ever since we started.
No, I don't think we have, yeah.
So that has sort of raised some eyebrows with some people. Let me just tell you the reason why. The first reason is, as always, price point to experience. That's very, very key to us. And because of the smaller land size of Taiwan, because of the fact that you have less space to grow these teas, just on the basis of rarity, the price is very, very high. And also, you know, we don't mind spending money on tea, but the tea has to match it in experience. And oftentimes with some of these Qingxin varieties, I don't know about you, but I felt often it was a little bit sharp tasting.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's like almost too on the grassy.
Too green.
Yeah, like a bit, sharp, like bitter.
A little bit bitter, sometimes a bit more astringent, sometimes a bit, but overall more sharp, green and sort of, sharp and green.
It reminds me when we went on that first trip, the first trip that I went to Taiwan, and they were brewing it really strong because they wanted to show how far it could go, but I was just like,
yeah, it's like real, like, you know, wincing,
Yeah, and then the price, and then you're just like, oh.
It's like, I just winced and like, you know, like clenched and then they tell you the price and you wince again. You're like, no, I'm not paying that price. So Qingxin high mountain oolongs are very much revered, command a very high price. And oftentimes, in our opinion, and it is just our personal opinion, they're too green and too bright and do not have enough other, let's say, more rounded qualities.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So what we have here is our first Qingxin high mountain oolong, and we start with a doozy because a doozy. Wow. I don't know where these words come from. A doozy. This is a very, very high mountain oolong. This is 2,400 meters high. Let's quickly scope this tea. So this is season spring 2020, actually closer to summer. It's June 2020. And the reason for that is higher elevations means that the leaf is growing slower and therefore it's going to be picked later. Plus this year it was drier and therefore the harvesting of these high quality teas was a bit later. So sort of beginning to middle of June. The cultivar on this, as I said, is the Qingxin cultivar. The origin of this is Fuzhou Farm, the most revered high mountain farm in on Lishan Pear Mountain, which is why we called it Pear Clouds, right? So Pear Mountain in the clouds, Pear Cloud. So this is from Fuzhou, very famous farm area on Lishan Mountain, Pear Mountain, one of the most famous mountains. Dayuling is probably just one notch higher in terms of fame.
It was in Nishan that we tasted that really strong.
Yeah, very good, like amazing taste, but a bit sharp.
It was hard for me to
So picking and processing, this is going to go through the standard Taiwanese oolong processing, which is picking. It's picking up to the third or fourth leaf. It'll go through a withering process outdoors. It will go through a withering process indoors. It will then go through a firing process. It will then go through a resting process. It will then go through a rolling process. It will then go through a drying process. And then finally, it will go through the ball rolling process. And sometimes it will be roasted as well. Elevation on this, very important since we're talking about high mountain, 2,400 meters. This is, I'm pretty sure it's up there with the highest mountain oolongs that we have ever. It's definitely the highest mountain oolong that we've ever purchased. It might be one of the highest mountain teas, including China, we've ever purchased. It's certainly up there, 2,400 meters. Right, let's go through a little bit about what is Gaushan oolong. So Gaushan oolong is any oolong tea which is picked and processed above 1,000 meters, so alpine environment, right? So anything above 1,000. So we've got Alishan cream, which is well above that. Yeah. We've got our GABA teas are up there, frozen summit. I think pretty much all of our oolongs count as high mountain oolong, but we don't call them high mountain oolong because for me, high mountain oolong is this particular variety, the Qingshin variety, growing at higher than 2,000 meters. That's
you want to taste it.
Yeah, I want it to really be a definer of high mountain tea. So let's look at the history of this type of tea. Taiwan has a relatively short tea growing history. So in the 1960s, late 60s, Chiang Kai-shek, he visited the high mountain farms of Dayuling, I think, and basically recommended that the farmers there start to grow tea, fruit trees and tea. Basically, they wanted to rent the land out to people, especially the veterans, apparently. And what happened was, farmers were trying to work out how to use this high mountain land, right? And Chiang Kai-shek visited a farmer, I can't remember his name, but basically advised him, why don't you try starting to produce tea? Obviously, China has a very long history in tea.
Always a good idea.
And so they started to plant tea cultivars, and it was a very heavy attrition rate. In other words, I think something like you plant 800 and only 200 survive because it is very rough conditions up there, right?
It's quite cold. Yeah,
it gets frosty, snowy, right? And so what's happening is you're getting natural selection. So the natural variations of the tea plants, the tea varieties that can handle that weather. You had a big loss from 800 down to 200, and then you cultivate those 200 and you hope a higher percentage survive the next year. And so essentially what you're doing is building in to the cultivar a particular trait that means that they are able to thrive in high mountain conditions. Okay. Now, we'll talk about the reason why high mountain conditions produce a certain flavor of tea in a very short while. But let's just finish the history, because it's very, very sad that this type of tea has become more and more rare, because in around 2016, the Taiwanese government decided that they were going to destroy a lot of plus 2,500 tea farms. So it's 2,500 and above tea farms they destroyed, and the reason was because they were worried about erosion. They were having landslides. There were a lot of tsunamis going through that area, so they wanted to make sure that the land was very, very solid, and so they were concerned that the tea plantations were not providing enough deep roots to sort of hold the soil together. But this is all there's a lot of controversy about it, and I'm not, I don't want to dive in and say the wrong thing, but from the discussions that we've had with farmers, it seemed like it was a bit of an odd way to do it. So first of all, the irony is that they first of all advised, the leaders at the time advised that they plant tea, right, and fruit, and then they said in 2016 or so that if it's a commercial property, in other words, commercial plant like tea or fruits, then that doesn't count as forest, because you need to have forest on this land. So the original sort of idea was, we give you this land, you plant forest on this land to make for a stable environment. And then they said, why don't you try trees and tea, fruit trees and tea? So they did. And then they said, no, that doesn't count as forest anymore because it's commercial. We want wild forests. So they ripped out all of the tea plantations, and then they replace them with these young saplings, basically very small trees that have much shallower roots than tea. God. Obviously with the idea that it's going to grow and eventually be better. So I'm not, I understand that there's probably a lot of experts who had their opinions on this. I tend to sort of hear maybe the side of the tea producers more than
don't destroy the tea fields.
Yeah. And we know that, older tea trees will have nice, long, deep roots. But it certainly is true that there may have been some environmental concerns. There were also some concerns about spraying of pesticides, which is unusual for me at that high elevation. But that would sort of leach down into the mountain. In other words, you're at the top of the mountain. That's the prized area to make sure that you keep it pure and have good root systems to hold the earth together to protect against erosion and landslides. So they destroyed a lot of the plantations. If it was privately sort of run, then they destroyed it. And so Dayuling and places of altitude above 2,500 meters, it's very difficult to find those high mountain oolongs anymore, which is why the price of them, if you find them, is extremely high and doesn't necessarily mean it's a great tea. It's just, you managed to find it.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the history of high mountain oolong. Now, what makes high mountain teas better? Celine, what makes high mountain teas better?
The taste.
Well, yeah, ultimately the taste. The first thing to say is it's not necessarily true that high mountain tea is always better than lower elevation teas, right?
You've got to do production's got to be good.
Oh, there's so many other factors, right? Yeah. There's a thousand
environmental factors,
so many little microclimate factors, the soil, the production, the neighboring, the amount of love it's given, the neighboring plantations. All of these factors are very, very important. So you cannot say that higher mountain tea is always better than mid or lower elevation tea, right? You can't say that as a blanket rule. However, higher up has a tendency to at least be more revered, cost more, and usually be higher quality. Now, why is that? So there are a few reasons. The first one relates to purity, right?
Yeah.
Further away from industrial areas, right? Yeah. Further away from roads, from traffic, from pollution, right? Yeah. Higher up, that rarefied, pure atmosphere, as we said when we visited Taiwan. Yeah. Wow, you just smell like, you feel like you're breathing in essence of purity, right? It's incredible.
It's like the place has been scented with actual green tea scent.
It's amazing, the smell up there. If only you could bottle it.
If you guys have visited, you can
let us know your experiences. So purity of the air, purity of the soil, that makes a difference, of course. The second thing is higher up means that you're less likely to get such an infestation of insects.
I was going to say, it's a bit surprising that they talk about pesticide higher up.
It's true, because higher up usually means less requirement for pesticides because there are less insects and therefore you don't need to control them. And that means you can pick slightly later into the year. You can allow the leaf to grow without worrying too much about insects and potentially protecting your crop with pesticides.
I guess it depends on the mentality of the producer as well, because some people just think, I'm just going to use pesticide no matter what, and that's it.
Yeah, but it's also worth noting that insects can add flavor to tea, right?
That is very true.
So,
shout out to Eastern Beauty.
Yeah, shout as if it's a person. Shout out to Eastern Beauty. So if you've not listened to our podcast all about how the genetics of tea and the secondary metabolites of tea caused by stress affect flavor, then go check it out. I'll put a link in the description below so you can listen. We spoke to a food technologist, Cliff Little. Fascinating conversation all about age of tea tree experience and how stress affects flavor. Anyway, so less pesticides. Next up, the environment is actually going to be colder higher up, right? Or at least you're going to have a higher temperature difference between day and night. So as soon as the sun sets, wow, at that higher altitude, it is cold. Remember when we were up there? You're like in a t-shirt and then suddenly you're like, ooh, cover up.
It was cold.
Super cold.
Yeah.
Very, very
dropped
cold.
Like that.
Yeah. And that big fluctuation in temperature slows the growth of the tea, right?
He's like,
yes. And so that slowing of the growth of the tea generally means that the tea has more time to react to the environment, react to that cold, develop flavor compounds, and has more time to slowly drip those beautiful flavor compounds into the leaf as it grows. If it grows too quickly, it's going to be more dilute. And that is why this colder, harsher environment, again, stress, can lead to higher quality flavor profiles, right? And when you taste it, you're going to taste a little bit of that coldness, that freshness, right? The other thing is that you are closer to the sun, right? And so therefore you are getting a lot of light. I say you, but the plant is. The plant is getting a lot of light. And that light means that the plant has to develop, it's protect itself from UV. So it has to develop catechins. So those catechins and those polyphenols and all those antioxidants that contribute to the health and also the flavor profile of a tea are going to be increased slightly because of the fact that you have more of that UV light because you're closer to the sun. Okay. The converse of that is it's going to have less theanine, right? Because theanine is used for growth and is converted into catechins when you need it because of the sun. And that is why high mountain oolongs tend to have a fresher note to it, less of the brothy thickness and more of a freshness and sometimes too much, right? And that's why you need to get that right balance. The other side of it is it's in the clouds. Right, high mountains in the clouds. You're in the mist. It's so romantic.
It's in the clouds.
It's so beautiful there. Remember that. I remember. Like I think that was one time I wanted to propose to you. It was so beautiful.
Really?
But I held back. Yes.
That was quite early on in our relationship.
Yeah, I know. But it was so magical. It was such a magical place. It felt so pristine and pure that you just it's just so beautiful.
I remember I was jumping in the fields because it was like, look at the clouds, and it was nighttime. I was like,
Yeah, exactly. That was the moment. Anyway, so you're in the mist, you're in the cloud, there's high humidities. That means that the leaf is very sort of succulent and it can develop sort of a thickness but still be succulent and pliable. Again, really intensifying flavor. And also that mist acts as a sort of diffuser so you're not getting direct sunlight. So it calms down the heat. So again, you're protecting the plant from excessive heat. So you're getting the UV to produce the catechins and the antioxidants, but then you're shielding it from excessive heat and dryness.
Weather science is very interesting, isn't it?
Weather science, meteorology.
That's the one.
That's the one. Okay, so for all of these reasons, probably more, high mountain oolong is very much revered. Should we dive into this and let's see if it lives up to our expectations?
After all this wonderful talk of clouds and mist,
I know, hair cloud.
Give me
we obviously tasted this when we first selected it. This is a new producer for us. And I was super happy because we finally get to choose a Qingshin oolong that we, at least at the time, loved. Let's look at these leaves. Lovely.
They look nice and tight.
Nicely, tightly rolled. Pine. Asparagus, pine.
Oh no, it's like, because it's quite dark leaves in there. They're like, I'm thinking vines going through
vine leaf, those sorts of greens. But you can see it is quite green, right? It still has, yes, it has those sort of blue-green notes, but it is quite green. Again, beautifully rolled. This is Fusho, worth stressing, Fusho Farm Lishan tea. So this is 2,400 meters. You're right up there with the top echelons of high mountain oolongs. All right, heat this up. Okay. Let's have
a snifferoo.
Let's give Froggy a little bit of...
And put some in here as well.
Yeah.
Just heat up that Gong Dao Bei. Gong Dao Bei.
When I first got this sample, I literally could not stop drinking that sample. Then it ran out. I was like, ah! So I'm super happy it's back. Go for it.
Oh, it's like creamy but fresh at the same time. Oh, it smells so good. Sorry, I took a bit longer.
Does it smell like the mountains?
It smells like the mountains.
It smells exactly like the mountains.
Yeah, it smells like when we first went up there and they were still warm, like it was still hot.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the smell is very much that sort of cold mountain air, snowy mountain streams. But as you said, there's a warm, like almost brown butter nuttiness in there.
Yogurtiness.
A little bit of yogurt, so that sort of sour creaminess.
Yeah, it's like a light sourness, but very creamy still.
So high mountain air, sort of imagine that just
floral note. What's that? Sorry.
Is there floral note? Sort of snowy.
Oh yeah.
Snowy peaks. It's got a very ionized is the word. It's that very sort of clean, pure smell to it in terms of the freshness. Then you've got brown butter, you've got some yogurt. There's a bit of fruit in there as well, but it's more sort of green.
I keep thinking snowy mountains now.
Isn't it?
You said it.
But I think there's also like a pear skin note, like it's kind of like a fruit, but a little bit more of that sort of the harder skin of the pear.
A bit greener. But fragrant.
Yeah.
That's it, isn't it? It's the fragrance of it. There's also like floral note. Did you say floral?
There is a floral note. I can't put my finger on it, but I'm terrible with flowers.
98. Let me.
98's okay. 98's okay pour it from a height.
Sorry.
We're going 95 degrees for these kinds of teas, and we're looking at 6 grams or so per 100 mil. So we've got how many grams in here?
10 grams.
10 grams.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Wet leaf.
Okay.
Go for it.
Oh my god, I'm a bit tired today. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, so am I.
Okay.
Oh, we have another pet here.
Yeah, I was holding it earlier. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. That's like... It's like a mountain hog.
I'm still getting a lot of that mountain stream sort of energy and smell, but there's definitely the creaminess has turned into more maybe sort of magnolia or gardenia flowers.
Yeah.
And then there is a fruit, and the fruit is like a very...
White nectarines. It's the season of nectarines.
Oh, yeah.
Here, anyway. I was going to say
it's very fragrant and perfumed. And white nectarines is slightly more floral than yellow nectarines. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. White nectarines.
I was thinking yellow. It's not yellow nectarines. It's definitely more floral.
So white nectarines, maybe gardenia.
I honestly can't remember what gardenia smells like.
It's quite sweet and creamy. So there is still the creaminess there. And then the freshness of those sort of mountain streams. There's a tiny hint of like pepperiness, black pepper. You know, but very, very slight. It's very, very light in there.
Do you think that's what brings out the warmness?
No, it actually brings out, for me, it almost marries with the floral note. It's sort of, you know how you get some flowers that are a little bit peppery? Like white chrysanthemum has a peppery note, but
that's true.
Or maybe peony.
Peony.
Has that sort of peppery note.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more peony. But what's great about these high mountains, let's hit it at 30 seconds. What's great about these high mountain oolongs is, and it sort of mirrors, I always say a little bit more. It mirrors the video I did last week about green teas and those sort of pure green teas. It's different but it has similarities in that it's that combination of very fresh, almost sort of cold air freshness with a lot of fragrance. Mm-hmm. You know, it's sort of purity and fragrance combined.
Yeah,
and
true.
That is our sort of definer of the high mountain taste.
Mountain oolong taste.
Yeah, high mountain oolong taste, pure, fresh, almost sort of cold in character, or like, fresh. But then on the other hand, fragrant, sort of fruity, you know, bright fragrances, and a little bit creamy. But the creaminess is, look at that color.
Oh.
Ooh.
Do you think it applies with green tea with high mountain?
Well, a lot of green teas are not high mountain, right? First of all,
That's
and the
true.
green teas like Gaushan that we did a video about last week, put a link in the description below. That is a higher elevation green tea, and yes, you are looking for purity with fullness. Okay, here we go. Wow, you definitely used a lot of leaf. That's pretty strong for the first infusion.
Can't mess.
Don't mess. What is that? Lime green? What color is that?
It does look like It's on the edge, isn't it? It's got like a fluorescent greenness to it, but then it's also got gold.
Yeah, sort of like a combination of fluorescent green, yellow.
It's like white gold.
With a bit of pear.
It's beautiful, really. I'm getting hypnotized, and I don't know if it's my tiredness or if it's just the tea.
Well, let's see if this flavour hypnotizes you. Here you go. Our first taste of Pear Cloud.
Cheers!
High Mountain tea. And immediately I'm lifted into the clouds. I feel like I'm in that sort of humid but fresh, misty air. It's very difficult to describe, but do you know what I mean? It really is like an ultra fresh feeling when you drink this.
It feels
tea.
like it elevates you to the heavens. You know, it's just like, it's just really refreshing.
Yeah, really refreshing.
Like getting mist on your face.
It is just that rare air, that rarefied air up there. It has that kind of taste.
But it's so smooth.
Yeah.
And I know we haven't brewed it like stupid long amounts.
No, that's a lot of leaf.
But that's a lot of leaves.
Brewed for 30 seconds. And that is one of the things about high mountain oolongs like this, like good high mountain oolongs, is this incredible ability for it to have freshness and greenness, but not have any sort of excessive astringency, any sort of excessive bitterness.
It's delicious.
It's medium bodied, it's soft, it's coating.
It's super coating in the most not oily way possible. Like, what's the opposite of oily?
Yeah,
like,
but it's not, it's just pure, you know, because the opposite of oily would be dry.
Yeah, but it's
not
also
dry.
Sweet. You know, it's like a bit like when you have a, what's that? Candy floss.
Candy floss.
You know, where it leaves your mouth with sweetness, but evaporates.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it reminds me of when I'm drinking it. It's so...
It's like dew. It's like sweet dew.
Yeah.
Sort of like, you know, those fairy things where you see the fairies like drinking dew off a leaf or off a petal. You know what I mean? It has that sort of very pure, fresh, alive, but in a very peaceful, pure way. And it's I need to heat that up.
Oops.
It is just a very particular sensation and taste. In terms of the taste, sweetness. What?
I think this may be my favorite oolong so far.
What, so far ever? Out of all your oolongs ever?
No, Taiwanese oolong.
Taiwanese oolong.
Oh, let's not step over undercover Da Hong Pao, okay? But as a green oolong...
Oh, it's remarkable.
I was thinking in my head, I was like, don't say it, Celine. This might like...
Come back and
but I can't help myself. It's actually...
look at the colour of those leaves.
It's supreme. Like, it feels supreme.
Cool it down a little bit.
Cool it down.
So let's talk about taste though. Well, we'll taste it on the next one. But it definitely has left my mouth with a sweetness. Has it left your mouth with a sweetness?
100%.
But it's like for me, it has a slightly fruity sweetness. It's almost like a very, very sweet pineapple, but very sweet, like ripened pineapple, just like in Taiwan.
Yes!
There's pineapples.
That's exactly it's like you can read my mind. The visuals, it's like...
I was there with you.
Yeah, but you know, my visuals in my brain. And then you say it, it's a bit freaky.
That's sweet, freshly plucked.
And it happens a lot. It's not just like whilst we're having tea, just think of something. Me
reading your mind.
Yeah. And then you just mention something like
that's what finish each other's sentences.
Yeah.
So yes, sweet pineapple. Very sweet pineapple, because it's got a little tang on the nose, like it's sweet in the mouth and a little tang on the nose.
And if it was wrapped up in peonies or like a flower, you know, it's got that fragrance.
So you're having some sort of high mountain offering of freshly plucked, juicy, perfectly ripe pineapple, and served on a peony platter.
Yeah, I'm imagining such a beautiful drawing right now.
Wow, the color is vibrant. I don't remember it being so bright, but I think that was because I only had a tiny sample and I was trying to eke it out.
Ooh, bubble. Yep. Sorry.
Bubble. Yeah, that is a beautiful, very lime green color. Okay, let's focus on taste now.
Delicious. Okay.
Try and get some tasting notes.
Well, the pineapple thing was very.
Pineapple's more in
good.
the finish, right? As in, sort of, it leaves you with a pineapple taste
and sweetness. You know.
Oh my god, it's so good. It's so refreshing, isn't it? It's almost like
crazy.
It's this crazy combination of super quenching and like refreshing and like the best water, the best sort of sensations of a quenching glass of cold water. It has a cold feel to it.
It makes me think of an elixir. You know, an elixir.
Let's try and get some more tasting notes.
So definitely pineapple sweetness. I do get like that candy floss like aftertaste, like just that cloudy sweetness.
Yeah.
Just so good. And I still get a bit of the pear coming through.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's just so much.
There is still some creaminess, but it's more like sweet sort of yogurt. You know those yogurt drinks again, like fresh, like those buttermilk, sort of like very sort of.
When Yakult
Yeah,
style.
fresh.
Yeah,
fresh.
but not like leaving you with that weird
no,
feeling on your tongue.
Yeah, just sort of. It has a little bit of a sort of sweet buttermilk. Creaminess to it, and but then it just moves into this very quenching, but not dry, still soft, but fresh, cooling. Breathe in the fresh mountain air. Breathe it in.
It's
you know?
amazing. Like it's making me kind of settle in myself. Like it just feels quite surreal, that taste. Like it's so deep.
I think what's surreal about the taste is when you drink it and you get that level of freshness and brightness, you have this expectation that it's going to go but it doesn't.
That's it. It's like it's just so weird.
It's like drinking like fresh water or coconut water or something. Do you know what I mean? It's that sort of, it has that kind of feel to it. Right, smell of the empty cup.
Oh yeah.
Or empty gong dabe.
I mean, if you guys are into like Taiwanese oolongs, gotta try this. Oh, I sound like such a salesperson. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, it is a great tea.
That's yummy.
It is a great tea. Have a smell of your empty cup, and I'm going to give you a tasting note and see if you get it. Because it's a little bit of an obscure one for those who've not had it, but those white rabbits.
Yeah, true. Full on.
White rabbit candy is a sort of creamy white. I think we've given that tasting note before, but
yeah, I can't remember for what tea though.
It's not vanilla, isn't it? It's sort of like it's sort of a creamy, almost verging on sort of fake vanilla sort of.
It's
sweetness.
like a milk. Sorry,
yeah, that's right.
Flavoring, like you know, it's like a milk.
Yeah, it's like a slightly vanilla-y milk candy.
I guess it's ice cream, milk ice cream. Do they do milk ice cream?
Yeah, milk ice cream. Yeah, it has that sort of milky smell to it. But there is also like a slightly starchy note, I think, as well.
I don't get so much of starchy note.
Let me, oh my God.
I get so much of that white rabbit sweet.
You can smell the gong dabe afterwards and see what you think. So let's try to summarize the high mountain taste, what it means to us at least, and please let us know what you think the high mountain oolong taste is all about, because it is very much revered, very much sought after. For, I think, our point of view is it means it's very pure, fresh, bright, refreshing, quenching,
soft,
cooling almost, in the sense of like you feel like you're in the sort of misty, cool mountain air. But then at the same time, it's soft, as you said, and not astringent. And very, very lacking in any sort of bitterness. And and very fragrant. And as the infusions go through, you start to pick up more and more fruitiness, and more as you start to get more of that inner leaf material out, you get more of that fruity, slightly tanginess to it. But I would say overall, out of all the teas on the planet, High Mountain Taiwanese Oolong tastes as close to the natural taste of a tea leaf.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
In terms of you tasting like the smell of the air in the plantations and the mountains, and you know, the sort of when you suck on the sap of a fresh leaf, it's the closest. But then you take away all of the astringency and the bitterness, and you're left with this soft luxury refreshment.
It's like the ultimate tea nymph.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's
like
very right.
like a little tea fairy. Yeah.
Yes. It's like the ultimate of that. That's what I can visualize in my head. It's so ethereal.
Ethereal, yeah.
Yeah, it's very ethereal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's take a look at these leaves. Finish on it. You talk about the finish. I'll unravel some of these leaves.
Finish is lots of aftertaste of fragrance. There's a pineapple. There's still that magnolia, was it? The flower that we were talking about. And very soft.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really get much drying.
Mm-hmm.
Something refreshing in my mouth.
Just for me, it feels very hydrating and quenching. It almost feels slightly isotonic.
Yeah.
It feels like my tongue is being plumped up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It feels like my body's very happily absorbing this mountain water.
Yeah.
You know? So it has that refreshing, quenching note to it without being dry. Look at these leaves. Nice, medium-sized leaves. Sort of thick, pliable.
It's quite a leathery thickness, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's still very pliable. Feel them. They still are very sort of soft and pliable.
Oh, yeah.
So that humid environment where it's just continuously, the leaves are being continuously moisturized by the mountain mists.
Beautiful.
Okay, so let's do one more infusion. So fourth infusion, we're going to talk about body sensation. I can already feel the body sensation on this, but let's brew one more up. Look at those leaves.
I know, I was thinking that.
So
beautiful.
Pretty. So, how are you feeling? What's the body sensation?
I feel purified.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Refreshed and purified.
Yeah.
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 It really is like the ultimate. I can imagine on a hot summer's day.
Yeah.
That hot brewed and then cold brewed afterwards. We've got to cold brew that afterwards.
Yeah, I got to cold brew that.
Is just, you got to max this out. This is expensive tea. Okay, I'm just going to put that out there. This is 2,400 Fusho Farm Lishan tea. There aren't many places in Taiwan that you can get more expensive tea than that. So it's expensive tea. So make sure you use it. Definitely cold brew this. I think it would be a winner cold brewed, but just refreshing, purifying.
I feel very thankful that I can taste this tea because it really feels like something from otherworldly.
Yeah, that otherworldly, rare air, ethereal, misty, shrouded mountains, clean, pure,
feels like it's
bright.
A fiction book about tea and the tea nymphs.
It's like a children's fairy high mountain.
Yes. Yes.
Book. Maybe you should illustrate one.
Honestly, this is the tea to get me inspired. Because all I'm seeing in my head is tea fairies.
It's just the most refreshing tea out there.
It's so refreshing.
Mm.
And I'm going to say not too caffeinated because I feel very relaxed.
Mm.
You know?
It's true.
But is it just me?
I don't know. It's true. I don't feel like it's a very rushy tea. Interesting. High mountain, less insects, less requirement for caffeine because caffeine is required to repel insects. Maybe there's something there. Anyway, there you go. Pear Cloud in stock. If you want to try our first proper Qingxin High Mountain Oolong. And as I said at the beginning, we start with a doozy.
I love that word, doozy.
It's a doozy.
It's
very,
perfect.
very highly recommended.
Doozy.
And we're going to be enjoying this throughout the day.
Oh, yeah.
That's it, tea heads. Check out our other videos, taste our teas wherever you are in the world by browsing mayleaf.com and come visit us if you're ever in London. Other than that, this is Celine. I'm Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from those tea bags. Keep drinking the high mountain stuff and spread the word because nobody deserves bad tea. Bye.
Bye.